I'm startled, and I look in front of me, and there's like this thing, this circle wormhole. I don't know what to call it. It's like this doorway open, and this person steps out, and I'm like, oh shit, what is going on right now? Everyone is asleep, and I'm awake, and they're dressed in white. And I'm like, what is this madness? Am I seeing this? So I pretend I'm asleep. I'm like side-eyeing. What is this? And I notice that they're observing me. And they look around the house, but it's me. It's like taking
Welcome to Supernormalize, the podcast where we challenge the conventional, break boundaries, and normalize the seemingly supernatural. Join me, CJ, as we explore less uncharted realms of existence and unravel the mysteries of life experience. My treasured listeners, if you have a life story or healing modality or unique knowledge that you'd love to share, reach out to me at Supernormalized, that's Supernormalized with a Z, at proton.me. Let's together embrace acceptance of the supernatural and unusual as what it really is. Completely normal. Dear listeners, I have a treat for you today. I'm talking this week with Natalia from Puerto Rico, who is an explorer of consciousness and magic, poetry, the arts, and a self-driven scholar of magical currents that I myself am very interested in. We are both Rune Soup premium members since its inception, and part of that story, recently I had read one of her encounters that sounded quite astounding. I contacted Natalia and asked her if she'd be interested in talking about that experience and her magical life, and she agreed, and here we are today. Our meeting was long and there was some tech issues, but we got it there, and I'm sure you will enjoy. It's such a good, deep story of how people and how you yourself should trust your intuition and where this magical life can lead you. Welcome to Supernormalized, Natalia. Now, Natalia, I sort of know you on and off through the Rune Soup forums and also the Ansible, communicating over the years. You've been on there for quite a long time, and you had an experience that sort of made my mind pop when I read it. I was like, wow, and I'd like to talk to you about that. And that's how we find you here today. But there's more of a background to you. I mean, if you were to stand off the side and describe Natalia now, what would you say?
Well, I would say that I am the first thing. I love books and I love to read, and I also write and I like to tell stories. And I don't know, I guess I'm a general overall artist, right? I paint, I draw. I read cards, and that's pretty much me. Yeah.
But you're exploring the world of magic, and you have been doing so for quite a long time now. Is that driven by anything? Like, is it a part of something that's happening in, like, say, your family line or anything like that?
Yes, that's another yes. I it must be, right? Because we each find the roads we're walking on, and then we're like, oh, look, and then it kind of we take to it, right? And it
makes sense.
I don't know, we take to it, it makes sense, and we keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
So it must be part of ancestral family. I know, from a live family, there's no, I can't say, oh, my brother, or I have cousins or uncles, I can't say anything like that. From one side, they're very Catholic, and on the other side, they're very Protestant, um, Protestant Christians. And what I can say is that like a lot of the things in my life have happened because of weird sicknesses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it began kind of like the road began kind of when in my 20s when I got diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. And
Okay.
it was, I developed like the extreme phobia of going out. I couldn't drive. I had to call my mother I lost my job because of it. I have to call my mother to drive from work back home because I couldn't drive. It was this I don't know, this madness that I couldn't do it. And so I stopped going outside. It was like this weird sickness coupled with hyperthyroid and what the doctors were saying. They said I had Graves' disease, a whole bunch of things were going on. And both in like my personal life and health. I wasn't, I wasn't sleeping well. And so I would say that's when it began. Because when that happened, I was like, I got to figure out how to survive this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I, I don't know, music helped me survive it, really. Music and praying helped me survive it. And yeah, I don't even know when I came out of it. I just forced myself because I was never medicated or anything. I was medicated for the thyroid, but I never did anything for anything else. And so these weird sicknesses have happened, especially with that phobia. And I think it has to do with my natal chart too. There's a lot going on there. Um, and from there, I don't know, like these points in my life where I get these sicknesses that lead to these open doors, um, that I that just lead to these open paths. That's, you know, and then I end up taking that path, and then it becomes part of how I live, the things I do in that path. So from there began like a whole journey of leaving the church because I was, from my mother's kids, I was the one that was really, I guess, into church. Um, and from there, I kind of began, I always questioned, but I kept going. And then from there, I began kind of shedding skin, in my 20s. And then I moved to Puerto Rico to study, and then it just kept snowballing into there.
Yeah.
And yeah, just weird sicknesses. And that phobia thing sometimes does pop up. And I've realized, especially this year where it's happened, I've had some weird, again, weird sicknesses this year, that come on all of a sudden and lead to these weird experiences with, like, I don't know, angels, I guess you could say. Um,
Mm.
I would say angels, but yeah, it's that's pretty much what has led me here, these weird sicknesses. So I guess I have to thank Saturn.
And looking at your chart, was that actually in alignment with like Saturn events, do you think? Or
Well, I have Saturn in my 12th house
ah,
and in conjunction with Mars. So there's a lot of issues there. Yeah.
yeah, like a lot of tension between those two.
Oh, yeah. 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 There's a
Mm.
lot, ancestral things and a lot of mental things, like a lot of things going on there that are reflective of my sixth house and then my other, you know, so
Mm.
it imposes a great influence around my
Right.
chart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
it's
so you-
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. You had something there.
No, it's like I say it, because I've had recent, people are really uncomfortable about talking about like malefic aspects in their lives, in their experiences. And I'm not talking about bad judo things. but like things that we're born with, curses and knotted things that we're born with, right? And I've come to terms with the fact that part of not part, I've come to terms with the fact, with the reality that yes, I was born under a misfortune, you know, and this has been confirmed through time. I have a godmother in the tradition in 21 divisions, and I've
Yeah.
initiated in it's like voodoo, but the Dominican side. So it's all come up, you know, continually and been confirmed through different people. And it's not like we see it as misfortune, right? Oh God, I was born with this and that, or all these things against me. But you know, I don't know. Sometimes it's also like honing you, you know, there are things that come from, there are so many factors involved, things from the past, things from the family, you know, ancestral things. When I say things, for lack of a better word, like I don't know, essence or experiences or lives,
Contracts,
and
influences.
exactly, contracts, influences. But it's all part of, I don't know, how we make this sing, how we make our lives sing in harmony, how we find the harmony. And then once we find that harmony, what looked like a misfortune transforms into something else, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, in a way I've always felt like that. But as I grow older, I realize that it's not so bad. It has its beauty too. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much how I've come where I am. Yeah, from these weird, very low experiences.
Yeah, there's huge wisdom in that and that understanding as well. I resonated with it a lot myself as well. I mean, I wouldn't say that I've been through lots of, just say, like challenging sort of experiences in that sort of way, but with health. But mine's have always been with spirits doing working me over and stuff. So
Yeah.
I can get it in that way too. I mean, I personally do have like a chart which does look a bit difficult, but I've turned out all right so far. So
Right?
yeah, it's not so bad.
It's like that saying, it's like that verse in the Bible, we're never given more than we can handle.
I think so.
We can't handle, yeah,
Yeah.
more than we can't handle. So yeah, I definitely agree there.
So
Yeah.
you've grown up in a sort of Catholic sort of faith, yeah,
Yeah.
with a bit of a
Yeah.
magical background as well because of family and maybe history.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and how was that for you growing up in that? And what how did that play out in your life when you started to realize that you do have this big Christian background? There's a lot of what else too. What else is here?
Well, I always kind of, I don't know. I guess I've always, and I remember I would have conversations with pastors and things like that and ask them about, but if this is true, how come, it doesn't make sense logically in history? Like, how can we take this as fact? Like things about Adam and Eve and silly questions one as a young person asked. And they would always answer in their own way. So I always kind of had questions, but
Mm.
I was quite devout. Let me be frank. Um, I was quite devout, and then I would have these weird dreams. After that sickness and all of that, it kind of started. I guess I started shedding my skin.
Yeah.
Kind of like stepping into a new path or something that opened up. Like a change. It's
Right.
better worded, yeah, change. And I kind of, I don't know, I just felt weird. And then I realized I was bisexual. And then that was a very low point, another low point in my life, because I felt, oh no, what is this? And then yeah, from there, so yeah, you kind of, I mean, we all kind of know. I think everyone has their own thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's not like you know, I'm particular in any way, except that, I'm me and it's my perspective. But you kind of always know, when you're weird.
Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, I try not to admit that to anyone, but
Yeah, you always know. And so I always kind of knew, but I was very devout, right? And I
yeah.
would see my grandmother do these things and these ceremonies with the Virgin. Back then in Puerto Rico, they don't do this anymore, but they would walk the Virgin down specific streets from one church to another place, and
Mm,
just different special days of the Virgin. And yeah, so I would watch all these things, and I was just very devout. I would
mm,
pray a lot, and I really liked music and the music of, sacral music, um, sacral. Um, but I always knew I was weird. It was like I don't quite fit, but okay, I'll keep doing this, And then my mom was extremely very Christian. And so she was a big kind of hand in there in instilling that fear of stepping out of bounds.
oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you
So
suppress yourself and your
for
weirdo
sure.
character?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I always did was read. I always read like weird stories and ghost stories, and yeah, so I was very much in my own little world.
World. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
That
your
was
safe
definitely.
place.
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah. And I would write stories, little like, and read and write stories and spend a lot of time in my room. And yeah,
mm.
yeah.
And what drew you to the path of magic then?
I don't know. I landed here. Like, I'm here. I'm here, motherfuckers. No, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if we can curse. Um, I know what drew me.
Yep.
Um, so this was in 2013. So I went through all those sicknesses. I'm living here in Puerto Rico. I'm studying and all this stuff. And then one day I thought, obviously I was no longer living with my mother. I was living alone. And one day I thought, wait, I'm living alone. I can do what I want. And
How
I
long did
got,
that one take to click in?
I
It
got
sounds like a revelation.
hilarious. It was. And I got a pack of cards, tarot cards.
Ah,
And
which deck was that?
it was, you know what? It wasn't the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. I wanted that one, but I didn't get that. I got a black and white, the Hermetic Tarot. It's a black and white kind of Masonic thing. It
Oh
just
wow.
looks so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was black and white, and I really like monochrome. I don't know. It still looks really cool, that deck.
Yeah.
And so I started playing around with that. And the more I played around, I was like, oh, there must be something here. And from there, I just started getting more tarot decks. And there's a lot of botanicas here in Puerto Rico. So I would visit them. And it was just kind of testing the waters, and playing around with tarot and um, prognostication, like, you know, telling fortunes, I guess you could say, you know,
Yeah.
like testing out the waters. Let's see if I read this card, and then I would look and be like, okay, this is going to happen. And then I would see if it did happen.
Mm.
And so it was just basically testing the waters with tarot. And then from there, I really don't know what was the bridge, but from there I got, oh yeah, I remember. I was studying for the LSAT because I was going to go into law school. And in tandem with that, from tarot, I jumped into mythologies because I thought, wait a minute, I can read whatever I want. It doesn't have to be the Bible. And I was never into Greek mythology, never, ever, ever. I was like, oh God, I'm not into that. And you know, it's cool, but it just never grabbed me. And I got into the weirdest, like, you know, I'm in the Caribbean in an island. I got into the Norse myth because I got a copy of Henry Bellow's The Poetic Edda.
Oh, wow.
And
right.
and I began reading that. And I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. So
This
it's not
stuff
the
is real,
Bible.
right?
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
it's not the Bible telling you about these things and life. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not, I realized that it wasn't just the Bible that was magical, right? And telling you
Yeah.
these things that are true and all this stuff. I realized that it was, I don't know, it was very transformative. I was like, oh my God, I was highlighting things. I was, look, oh my God, you can compare this to something in the Bible. Wow, look at that. I was doing my own comparisons, and it was, yeah. So I read it all. And from there, I was like, this is incredible. I really want to get into this. And and I did. I myself, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And I with no, I purchased a couple books, right? On cedar and on the gods. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna call up Odin. Let's do this. He's the teacher, right? And he's gonna
Wow, cool.
teach, right? The wandering teacher. So let's do this. And and so I don't know. Again, my memory is so fuzzy because I don't know. Like I can't tell you exact transitions, but I somehow devised a 9-day ceremony to call up Odin.
Well, how
Okay.
appropriate. Yeah, yeah. 9
Yes.
days.
And and this was around 2015,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
What happened? We got to tell me those 9 days. What happened? I'm like,
well,
that's got to be amazing,
it
right?
worked. Yeah. It was
Wow,
kind of weird
cool.
because it felt when on the ninth day, it felt, I know now in retrospect, because it being involved in spiritist traditions and you know, Afro-Caribbean traditions where spirits mount your body, you know.
Yes.
You could say possession, but it's kind of different because there's consent.
Yes.
There's, you know, there's agreements involved. That's it. That's how it felt. And it was extreme. I was like, oh, like like it was kind of like a stopping of breath, like, and then I don't know, he told me like all these things. Okay, let's do it. I'm saying it in my words. I have it written down, but it was kind of agreement. Okay, I'll teach you. So from there, I began learning the runes, and I worked a lot with the runes, as in body movement. I did a lot of vision work with the runes, and yeah, it was very fruitful. From there, you know, it was very fruitful, even though I'm like this weird person in the Caribbean calling on the Norse gods. It was very, very fruitful because even from there, there's I forgot the name of it now, but there's these spirits that come to a child that has a specific name. These grandmother spirits that come into a child when they're born, right? And they're meant to be ancestral guides and things like that. I
It's not the
remember
Len.
at one point,
It's not the Lenvedi, is it?
can't remember the name.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I've walked, I haven't walked away, but I've sort of changed.
Changed.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but I remember, as I continued from there, I moved to Washington, and I kept doing the work, right? Working with the
Mm.
runes, doing prayers, or, kind of sitting in ceremony, vision work. And from there, I kind of saw visions of other sides of it kind of opened up a door to see ancestral landscapes, right?
Right.
Beyond, that I can't even say they definitely weren't Norse, right? But it was like a way that led to open these doors to other ancestral landscapes that I didn't see. And they were, I guess, pointing like, look, these spirits are with you, look at this landscape, that look at here. So they were, in that sense, doing these things was good, right? Because it kind of, in a way, they led me by the hand, and they said, look at this, look, you can go through here. And then I started having issues with one of my eyes, this eye.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, lots of issues.
That's
And I
so
was like,
common, That's so common when people,
yes,
yeah.
a lot of issues. Like, I almost lost it. I got an infection. I got like just weird
Oh.
ass shit. And I was like, wait, Odin. And so from there, from having been kind of led or shown these other landscapes, from there I was introduced to Saint Cyprian, and I was like, you know what, Odin, I think this has been incredible. You will always be, and I still have dreams. I've had a lot of dreams. One of like the apocalyptic kind of prophetic dreams I had before 2020 involved Thor, so they're still there,
Yeah.
but there's no, I still have the runes in my altar. Like, they're still there, but I don't, they're there. They
Mm.
were incredible guides. Really, it was very fruitful. And then from
Mm.
there, I began reading The Sorcerer's Treasure when it came out. And at this point, it's leading up to the real magic. No, I'm kidding. It's all magical, really.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just devoured that book. This, like, this thing opened up, and this land, that's the landscape I was shown by these grandmothers, um, these guides. It was kind of like a very, I don't know, Iberian landscape. That's the sense that I have, right? And
Right.
I was shown that these people and these houses, these things, and I had never. I mean, I knew, like, my grandparents were from, Spain, and they passed through the Canary Islands. They had a factory in the Canary Islands for making, one of them, uh, making pasta, type of pasta. Anyway, I knew, right? We're all, especially here in the Caribbean, we're all kind of like a mix of that, the Iberian and European, and then the blacks and the indigenous people. So yeah, we're kind of like a mix. So I knew, especially
Mm.
that my grandpa directly, like, I met him. He looked Iberian, right? He came from there in his family. And so, but I never, it was kind of that same thing. It's like, oh, these doors open, and I never had any, it was like, oh, look, this door open. Let me see what's there. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And from there, I don't know. I formally told Odin, you know what? You have been an excellent mentor. I don't want to lose my eye. so I think this is where I'm going to explore other areas. And he was like, sure, whatever, I'll keep wandering. And he's like, you keep wandering too. You keep doing the Odin stuff. At the end of the day, I am, I keep wandering.
Yeah.
And or what is it? There's another word for wandering. Wandering with an A, not with an O. And from there, Rune Soup wasn't yet a member community. It was just a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was doing tarot. I had like this little shop in Etsy, and I was trying promoting myself, doing the whole thing, right? And I met this mysterious person that wanted a reading from me, purchased a reading from me, and I did the reading, but it didn't stop at the reading.
Right.
We kept on talking, email correspondence, and we started slowly opening up. And from there, I don't know. It's funny how these connections are formed, even in distance. And I never saw her in person. I saw her in dreams. But yeah, I don't know. And then from there, we would have conversations about magic. And that's when it started to get more serious. Because she had more experience. And so, she would advise me, and we would take a look at her charts, and we would, kind of play around with things and go over it with each other, enchantments and things like that. And from there, when we kept just correspondence, this went on for years, and then Gordon created the members, and she joined, and I didn't. I was like, I don't know. I'll just, we'll just keep talking. And she's like, come on, join. And I'm like, okay. And then I did, and then we were there. I don't know. And then that led to the PGM. And all this while while a lot of the formation of my Cyprian journey was the kind of like the birth of that friendship. And it's funny how it happened, because when she purchased a reading from me, the last name was a specific last name. And just prior to it's like these funny things that happen in life. And before, like just a week before that, I had been rewatching what is that silly show that's a lot of entertainment, True Blood.
Right.
And I'd been rewatching it. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna watch it for entertainment, for fun, because it is quite a bit of fun. And I got to the scene just then. I got to the scene where the ancient fairy king being that wanted to whatever, that his name is Warlow. And I remember, I think it was Warlow. Anyway, I thought it was so curious, because the last name of that reading, when I saw, that when someone purchases a reading, you see first and last name, it had the same last name. And I was like, okay, kind of weird. I thought, I don't know. It was like a weird moment. Like, I just finished watching that, when they introduced this character, and then this person wants a reading from me with the same last name. I'm like, no, it can't be the same. Is it written the same? I don't know. And so it's funny, because then from there, yeah, she was really into Tolkien. From there, I read Tolkien. She was very into the Fae. So it's funny how these things kind of sync with life, how life has this sort of rhyming resonance to it.
Absolutely.
It's all intertwined. Yeah. So that's pretty much, she was the bridge that kind of helped me grow. And yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you started working with Cyprian, broke up with Odin, and it was an amicable breakup, but you're still friends,
It
which is good.
was. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I did a lot of things. I collected feathers, raven feathers, that would fall when I was in Washington, and I still have that in a box. All the things I created, I created like necklace and like all the things I created, they're still in a box. So it was an amicable breakup, and he's still there. It's
mm.
just like,
Well, that current's going to be with you your whole life because I mean, it informed you of your personality and who you are at that
yes,
time, and still makes
yeah,
sense to you. So that's
yeah,
very powerful, powerful stuff.
yes, yes, it is.
Mm.
Yes.
And so you've met Cyprian, Saint Cyprian, and what happened from there?
Well, you know, I met Cyprian reading his book. I don't know if a lot of people have this experience reading The Sorcerer's Treasure, but that was a very eerie experience. And I have, and I know Jose Ling Dao mentions in the introduction that this is a book that has a lot of legends attached to it, a lot of taboo attached to it. So it's tricksy, right? But I had none of that knowledge. None of that knowledge. I just began reading it literally from the introduction to the commentary, like just I'm reading a book, and um, it was a very eerie experience. And I sometimes, while reading it, there's a thing. I don't know. It was just a very eerie experience. Sometimes I would have visions. When you see out of the corner of your eye, like sideways seeing.
Yeah, peripheral.
Um, yeah. Sometimes I would be reading it at night, and I would see I would see this tall man, dressed in black. It was just very eerie, and they would just look at me, okay, reading the book. It was just these weird, eerie experience, and but I kept reading because I found it fascinating, and I don't know, it resonated with something. It was like, okay, this is the new page from where I was, right? I was working with the runes. This is the new page. This is getting a little bit more Saturnian. This
Mm,
is getting darker. And I remember every time I would read it, and I don't know if this was a resonance created from a lot of the spells in the book. There's a lot of spells involving like critters in the book, and they would just kind of like show up around me as I was reading the book. And I'm like, no. So it was like struggling with like, not really a struggle, but it was like a weird recognition that this
yeah,
is
this
this
is
is odd.
happening. This is
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
happening, and
happening, and
this is
this is
happening
odd.
now. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, it's cool.
And I kept reading, and then I started I just dove in, started looking at the prayers. I began doing prayers. I began, lighting candles, reaching out to Saint Cyprian. And I found that Saint Cyprian is very Saturnian. So it it's about constancy, um, repetition, commitment. So I would do the Saturday thing, do the prayers, light the candles. It's the reaching out, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm here, and I would like to learn from you, and that's how it began. And after I fully read that book, I began to use it, and then from there came other books. I mostly focused on his work, on the published work of Jose Leitao. He did Opuscula Cipriani, and he also did Biblioteca Valenciana, which I also have. So it was kind of playing around with this current, this Cyprian current, um, that's very much Iberian, and and it resonated. It confirmed the vision that I was given before of this landscape that I mentioned.
Yeah.
And through living and doing these things, living these prayers and reaching out to the saints, and Saint Justina didn't come immediately. Through there, it was confirmed, and through there, I was confirmed, revealed, shown that this particular lineage, this relationship with Saint Cyprian, like this call to go down this road, is ancestral. There's former family way back over there that carried on this relationship, and so I'm just carrying it forward. And that through time that has come up, especially when you are in spiritist circles, or when I met my godmother as well. So I guess it was I don't know, it was the road that was meant to be taken. And
yes.
And then I kept growing with relationship with my friend and Rune Soup, and I did, and I kind of started branching out and discovering new things. You can hear me well, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Clear as day.
Okay.
So we were just talking about that, the current that you, of your path of life right now. You actually got to the stage with breaking up with Odin and taking on the path of Saint Cyprian, but then you started to pick up other sense of other quarry. So what happened then? Where did you get drawn to after that? I mean, you have all this extra power behind you from both of these luminaries.
Well, I got into, when I moved back from Washington to Puerto Rico. We decided to move back after the hurricane, the big bad hurricane that happened in 2017, Hurricane Maria. And we were like, okay, we don't want to, I didn't want to raise the kid so far, from family. It was kind of really lonely for us. And so we decided to move back, and we moved back. And I began getting involved with in spiritist houses, so going to misas and things like that with my partner, and from there, I met a lot of good people, and it was just another learning experience. Really, it's what it was. I had a lot of good moments and a lot of frustrating moments because it's normal, it's that thing. It's that Aquarian Saturnian thing, right? You never quite fit. I don't know, maybe it's just me, I don't know. I've never spoken, well, I have spoken with other Aquarius people, but it's that thing where you don't quite fit anywhere, so you kind of have to like make a little spot for yourself, and I often find in unfortunately, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but this is what tends to happen, that often I rub people the wrong way. Because maybe I don't fall in line with certain traditions or certain agreements. I have my own way. After I left the church, I made a conscious and unconscious decision, like, you know what? No, I am going to, because I was very devout, and that led to a lot of decisions that did not arise from my heart. Not that there's anything bad with being devout, but
that's key.
The devotion is good, but it has to arise from desire. You can't, this has been the lesson this year for me. You have to move from the heart. And if so no, I'm not being fooled again. I'm not being misled again. It has to be somewhere, I can follow. I can follow. I can follow if there is sense in this following, if it makes sense to me, if my heart wants to follow, right? If it coheres, resonates with me, I'm not going to do it just because. Unless there's, other reasons like family and things like that. But, you know, there's obviously context, but in spiritual matters in general, I'm very apprehensive is a word. Like, yeah, yeah. So So I got involved in spiritual circles. It was great. I met lovely people. I learned a lot. I learned of things that were also part of my tradition, being I was born in Puerto Rico, right? That were also part of this
Yeah.
land. And I learned a whole lot. And that was lovely. And it still is because I still participate. If we're called the house we were involved in has kind of not died down, but kind of quieted down, I guess, with everything that happened in 2020. It's been very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So not a lot of health issues going around with a lot of people in it and a lot of things going on. So there hasn't been a lot of gatherings, but there has, just not as much as before. And so I still participate, and I still go, because it will always be, in many ways family too. And then from there, I was introduced to my godmother, which is another of those random things where I'm taken somewhere and I didn't expect it, and here I am. This is happening. And I I was with the elder of the house, of the spiritist house. I was with my partner, and it was one day. It was really for my partner and her. Like, oh, let's go to. She told us, oh, let's go to this lady that I recently met because she used to have a godparent in the tradition in the 21 divisions, but he kind of went MIA. And she was like, I met this other person that she's an elder in the tradition. Let's go meet her. And I was really just tagging along. And we went to her house, and she prepared food for us. It was lovely. She was incredible. And it's hilarious because I had already seen her in vision. So when I saw her, I was like, oh snap, I've seen you before. And I told her, I was like, I have a
Yeah, cool.
question with you. And she was like, really? I'm like, yeah, I didn't know it was you. It was like something that happened about a year before meeting her. I thought it was just, things you see, right? Oh, okay, there's some spirit lady there, um, telling me something, right? And she, in the dream, she was going like, come over here, and she was in front of a cauldron. And she was like, oh, that's curious. And so we spent like a couple hours there in her house. And then from there, I don't know, we kind of opened a relationship, all three of us with her. So all four of us. And literally that same day, she was like, you know what? I know what what you're looking for, like all three of you. And I was like, what? I'm tagging along. What am I looking for? And she was like, yeah, I will. And then obviously I'm phrasing in my words. And she said, yeah, I will, let's do it. I will initiate you into the tradition. I was like, oh, really? And, and, and we kind of said, okay, we definitely said, everyone was like, okay, yeah, because that was what the friend, the elder, the spiritist house was looking for. That's what she wanted. And she wanted to bring my partner as sort of like introduce as kind of like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do both of us. And then I was just tagging along. So I was like, oh yeah, let's go meet her. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm included in this. Wow. Typically I just have to insinuate myself because I'm never included. And so yeah, so we just started to develop a relationship. We would see each other often. We would visit her house. And she said, she looked at me again because of the whole misfortune thing. She's like, I have to do some work on your head. I have to do some clearing and some, kind of realignments there. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's been, she's like, yeah, we need to get to work. And so this involved several sessions of going to her house, and she would do, things in my head and just involving, and yeah. And and then from there, we just got to know each other more and grow closer until the day that we all decided, okay, well, let's do this. Let's say yes. Let's go forward with the initiation. And then we did. The day arrived. We got ready for it. Everything ready. And that's how that happened. That's what happened there after I came back. And all this while, I'm still part of Rune Soup and sharing all this with my friend. And no, actually, no, I'm not sharing all this with my friend. I'm sharing all this with my friend in the spirit world because she passed away. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of mix the timelines there a little bit. Yeah. So
That's okay.
yeah,
Probably just about
we
contact.
still do. Um, yeah.
That's cool.
And so that's kind of, yeah, all the other things.
So this led you to, where you are right now in life, and you're living like I would say like an almost intuitive sort of path, and being guided by lots of different currents there. And
I
then you
would
had an
say so. I
experience.
was very,
But
I was and still am quite adamant. Um, and more so after 2020. I am very I've become very weary of people that tell you they know that this is the way. And
yes.
after
Yeah.
my friend passed, it was very ominous in 2019, just at the cusp of 2020. And I had a last conversation over the phone with her. It was heartbreaking. It was a very, very, very sad Christmas. I didn't do anything. And everybody, like there were several people that had been in Rune Soup for a while too. She was very, very special. Um and um and that kind of was a catalyst of, what are you doing? Are you just playing, or are you playing? And yeah, I just become very wary of people that tell you this is the way it is and it can only be this way, or this and that and the other. I mean, there is such a thing as learning, right? The book learning, I'm very, obviously, I have a lot of books. That is also important, but it cannot just be book learning. It cannot just be listening to an elder. There has to be cooking it in you and in your lived experience, and how you live.
Mm.
And I've just become even more so very, very, very adamant with that, because it's just what makes sense to me. I don't know. For some people, it can be more, I know for my partner, he's more, into specific lineage where there's an elder. He's in the Ifa tradition and the Orisha. So it's very different, the dynamic. Um, there's also personal context, obviously, and experience, but it's a little different dynamic. But I've become very adamant with, like, you know what, if I need to learn something at the end of the day, I can read a book, I can look this, I can but at the end of the day, the spirit of the thing will tell me what I need to know, or and the same thing has been with plants. I have like a little garden and all this stuff, and it's it's been, how do I take this medicine? It's been very intuitive. Yes. What feels right for me, because for so long it had been kind of not that, not born out of that heart-led place. So after my friend passed in 2020, it became just radically that. And yes, so it has been intuitive, it has been spirit-led for sure, because that's what makes sense to me. That's what makes sense. And that's why I always say nothing is ever lost. Nothing is ever lost. It's just a matter of reaching out, and it's just a matter of reaching out and knowing how and when to reach out, and the stories will be revealed to you. The knowledge, the wisdom will be revealed. Nothing is ever lost. All those histories long forgotten, all that knowledge, it's not lost. So that's kind of my modus operandi in this incarnation. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've tapped into a very powerful current there, which is in resonance with your own heart. And in doing that, you're learning new ways to be, learning new ways to relate to the world and the spirit world as well, which is very, very special. I'm curious though, because we got in contact because I saw your comment in one of our rooms on the Ansible, which is a part of Rune Soup, and because it made me go, what? That's wild, because like I have wild experiences, but that was wild. I was like, and I wanted to know more about that. What happened? Can you talk about that?
Well, this year I have to begin with the sicknesses in the context. I can't dive in. It'll be like, what? Okay, yeah, wormholes in front of you? What? There's actually president. What is that word? President. Precedence.
Precedent.
Right. There's a precedent to this.
Precedent. Yeah.
Because while I was doing the whole spiritist thing, I got really I was playing around with with Daoism and mantras, especially through the work with Benabel Wen, food talismans, shepherd advice mantras. And I was doing a lot of that work, and it's so funny how things just lead to another thing, another thing. It's just, it's like these opening of doors. And it's not like I go, willy-nilly. I'm very, it's woo. I mean, why not? I mean, to each their own. But I do have also an element of caution and things like that, because I have a child and a family. So it's like,
Yeah.
Or the
because you can.
Yeah. So I was playing around with the mantras through Benabel's work, and one day I was this was the first experience where I realized that you can actually travel to places and the world is weird. And I was saying this mantra, and I hadn't been saying it for that long. And I don't know. I was in my room, and then I wasn't in my room. I was like, I wasn't in my room. And then there was something else around me. I was somewhere else. And it was this place, I don't know where, that looked, I mean, the best I can describe it, it looked like a market. And it looks like a kind of like a market, Silk Road market, Asian kind of place. I don't know, some kind of convergence in that area. And then I just don't know how I ended up there. And it sounds crazy. And
It's not. It's not though. It's not. You experienced it.
and
It's
then
true.
this old man, that was had a fortune telling stall, throw the read and sell food talismans. Had a stall that noticed me, ran up to me, and started speaking, and I didn't understand the language. I was like, oh, where the hell am I? And it sounded Asian. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I had just been saying the mantras in, I think it was Mandarin, more, but one, so I was kind of saying it like that. And I was like, I don't understand. And then he was like, I get it. And then he lapsed into speaking telepathically. And then he told me, what are you doing here? You should not be here at this time. And he pointed to somewhere, like some place, like a red place, like a red building, castle kind of thing. But it wasn't a castle. It was kind of like a red house with like right there at the corner of the market toward the end of the street. He's like, if they see you, it's gonna be trouble for you. Danger. And I was like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing here, man. I was just saying to myself. And he's like, no. Come back at another time when the market is not going on, at night and in another time. Like, oh, okay. And he kind of pushed me away, and I left, and I came back. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing this mantra. And so yeah, so that happened. And I kind of, from there, in doing all the other Rune Soup work, Saint Cyprian, I started learning about the I Ching, and it was a lot of stuff. God, I've been learning a lot of stuff for a while. Yeah, so I started, yeah.
Magic is a magic is it's a continuous rabbit hole. That's what
Yeah.
happens. There's so much to learn. There's like I don't
I
know how
don't
you can fit it all in this
know.
lifetime.
And it's funny because it's like I didn't notice, but now that I'm saying, I'm like, damn, what the hell was I doing? Like playing around with all these things. And
Mhm.
yeah, from there I started really heavily studying. And funny, I already had an I Ching book. I just never really, I knew I always wanted it. I purchased in one of the local bookstores a used copy. The yellow one that Jung does the introduction. Who's that guy that did it? Oh God, I can't remember. Can't remember because Whaley, I think it was. Yeah, Whaley, Waley, and Jung does the introduction. It's like one of the first translations. Well, it's a copy of that. Um, and so I began in earnest reading it, and just reading it, literally. I just opened it to the first page. I'm like, oh, look, let's just start reading. And so that's what I did. And while I was, working with the Benebel's book, Food Talismans, and I kept doing the mantras because I wanted to, through all of this, the underlying thing was I wanted to find healing for my body. Because in my 20s, when that whole
Mm.
thyroid thing happened, I wanted to find healing for my body, and I knew I could find it somewhere. So I just kept doing all these things. And I did the Daikon walk where I kind of, um, went through the Daikons, and it was all seeing what I could do to ameliorate that, healing. And then when I found this stream, because Saint Cyprian, that was another thing. That was knowledge. That was wisdom, magic, that was another thing. That was kind of like a continual devotion. So that kept going. But all these other things dabbled it have been seeking healing, seeking medicine. And so I began doing that mantra
Mm.
that I found through Benabel because it was with Yao Shifu, the medicine Buddha. So all of this has been, underlying all of this has been healing. Who can I talk to that can help heal me? And um and yeah, so So I have to make it to this year, to that weird experience. So that kept growing, and then that basically kept growing. I'm still really I have a practice, a body practice, a medicine healing, I don't know what to call it, body energetic movement practice developed through this relationship with the Daoist writings and works. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's um qigong or anything formal, but it definitely involves body exercise, breathing, and things like that. That I've incorporated into my daily practice to keep everything, healthy and yeah, yeah,
Balanced.
it's been yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then from there, you have to make it to this year. And then from there, and I just this year, the beginning of this year, everything, and then from there, that experience with the mantra, the I Ching, all of that, I just kept doing things, doing the work, and learning a lot, and reading the cards, and I kept writing because I've always written on my blog, and doing all the little things I do, the daily things. And this year, the beginning of this year, December of last year, the beginning of December, I had terrible, terrible, horrible sickness. I don't know what it was. I don't know. And I I tried. I guess this was another like lesson, another page in the leaf of lessons, Saturnian lessons. Um, I it was a terrible sickness. I don't know. I took a lot of over the counter stuff. I tried all the things that I had built up through the years, all the practices that, Chinese traditional medicine things that I had learned through the years, all these things. I tried all, none. It was terrible. My kid got sick, but he recuperated fairly quickly. Just wouldn't leave. And it wouldn't leave. And during this time, I had decided, since I was sick, to read Tales of Earth Sea again, um, books 1 and 4. And so I was like going through this Dark Night of the Soul while reading this Ursula Le Guin book, and it was terrible. And at one point, I was taking this over the counter thing because I became desperate. Desperation is never a good thing. And I remember I started having heart issues, like felt constricted. And I was like, oh shit, what is this?
Oh.
And then one of the I couldn't sleep, I couldn't stop coughing. It was just this terrible thing. And one of my spirit guides told me, like, you know what, that thing that you're taking over the counter, you shouldn't be taking that. You should calm down because now you're getting heart problems. And you need to calm down. You need to really just give into it and let it pass. And I don't know, I broke down. I was like, I cannot do anything. You build all these things and all these practices, and no, I did not go to the doctor. I didn't do any of those things. It's like you do all these things and then you're still here and you have no control over this. And I just gave in. I gave in. It was this moment of complete, utter surrender. I just surrendered. I just surrendered. And then when I surrendered, it was like this opening up of the heart. It was like this almost mystical experience. I didn't start getting better quick. but it was just that whole tension. It was like this opening up of just, I don't know. I just surrendered. It's like I'm not holding on to anything. I just surrendered. And then I slowly through the days, I got better, very little by little. And on the other side of that, I found so hard to explain now. You know, I found that I was very vulnerable after that because I had opened myself completely. I had surrendered completely. But I also found that there was a part of me that wanted to express devotion, like this um, devotion to the realization of the truth behind the Bible verse, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It was that. And it's not because I never understood that verse. It was like fear? What do you mean fear? But it's not fear as in it's in awe. It's in the fact that we really have no control. We have agency in certain respects, but life is so much bigger than us. The web that connects us all is so much bigger that it was just this humbling experience that I wanted to find an expression for this. And
Mm.
and I kept going and I had conversations with my partner about it because it was a very vulnerable moment. And I always felt um around devotion, that kind of surrender, I always felt uncomfortable with it. Yeah, like my background with my mother and church, I was felt uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to be devoted again. Like, what? You telling me? And oh no, this is something way deeper. And then one day, this was around March. I have it I write all these things down in my planner, but they're kind of fuzzy speaking them out. Um, and one day, around March, I had because I have a couple sacred books in my library, and I picked up. I was like, you know what? I'm going to read the Quran. I mean, I had just finished reading Arabian Nights. That's what I picked up after all the things. I was like, oh, I think this will be, which I found in a used bookstore. So I was like, you know what? If I read Arabian Nights, what is this? Let me um um let me read the Quran. And because I've read the Bible, might as well. And so I began reading the Quran. And so before beginning, I began reading it at night. And I read it the first night, second night, the third night, thereabouts, like at the very beginning. I was like, you know what? Let me do this properly. Let me let me call on Gabriel. He was the one that revealed it to the prophet, be upon him. And so I said a prayer, and I never reached out to Archangel Gabriel. Never. It's always been Saint Michael. Um, so I was like, well, I'm reading the Quran, right? And he was the vehicle of revelation, right? The angel. And so I reached out, I said a prayer, and I was like, help me understand this. Um, Help me see it and understand it. And then I had a series of dreams where I saw him or it, the angel, which was extremely freaky. And I will not share. It was a very, very jarring. Um, it was a fearful experience. And then I had a series of dreams after doing that. And then I had another dream where Saint Michael showed up and said, yeah, this is what you're doing, girl. And I was like, what? And so I kept reading after these dreams. I was like, wow, these are intense dreams that I'm having while reading this. But let's keep reading. And the more I read, it's like I just saw how this book described an alive cosmos in a way that resonated with me. It was just, I mean, I was crying easily for the first part of reading. And I read it like, a lot of the things I read, I pick it up first page. There's no I'm jumping here from this chapter, this surah to this other one. No, I'm just the very beginning and I keep going in order, very straightforward. And yeah, it got to a point where I couldn't. I started crying. I was like, this is the expression of devotion that I'm looking for. And I remember I visited my godmother, and I was like, because through the initiation, I have head spirits and all that, all those things. I have certain duties and things. I was like, so I confirmed through everyone. I had a conversation with everyone, Saint Cyprian, this, and then I went to my godmother, and I was like, this is happening. Is this okay? Because it's getting to a point where I can't say no, So I even cried on her couch. I was like, I don't know why this is happening. I wish I had read this earlier. I wish I had encountered this earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe my life would have been different, right? I don't know. And she's like, no, I don't think that. It's exactly how it needs to be. And so I confirmed with her that everything is okay, because I don't want to, I'm not, I'm, this sounds so controversial. I'm not one of those people that kind of touches and goes and then leaves behind. No. All the things that I encounter, they are there. They, in a way, even my encounters with the Norse uh, um, path, all those things formed a part of me. I don't just, okay, I don't need you anymore. No, all these things are important. I still have dreams. It's still a language I understand, right? These encounters that taught me. So I wanted to make sure, confirming with her, that I'm not, um, I'm not, I'm not putting any barriers in my relationship with the Loas or anything like that. She's like, no, why? Like, no. So yeah, through confirmation from my godmother, I just I sat with my maîtresse, and the Loas. I sat Saint Cyprian. I divined on it. I divined on it. I was very torn, and I kept reading the Quran, and it just got to a point where it was undeniable. It was like, this is the expression that you need to walk in. This is the, I don't know, this is the path. This is the expression that you're looking for. That you, for this time, what that you need. This is the next leaf. This is the next change. This is it right here, basically. And I had another, and then I had another dream, because I kept being torn. I was very torn. And the angel, I don't know, spoke to my heart and was like, how long is it going to take you? How long are you going to deny your heart's desire, and all these little things that and not, how long are you going to keep doing this, basically saying no and denying yourself? How long? And so I was like, okay, I guess no more. Perhaps. I don't know. I hope not. Lord, give me strength. And so after talking to my godmother, I said, okay, well, let's see what there is to see. So I went to a local masjid. I spoke with a sheikh. He put me in contact with another sister. And then from there, I don't know, I started learning more the legalistic aspects and things like that. And I was like, okay, I'm learning. So I learned a lot. It was all lovely. And then one day, the sheikh tells me through my sister, they were the ones in contact. He's like, you know what? Eid is coming up. Eid al-Adha, which is the celebration of sacrifice of Abraham and Ishmael, Isaac and Ishmael. Um, um, and yeah, the day of the sacrifice of the firstborn son. And he's like, this is the day. This is the day you're gonna do it. I'm gonna do the Shahada on this day. And I'm like, what? And thought about it, and then I did it. I did it this year, yeah. In the summer, and on that day, it was like a big celebration. It was a very big moment, and it was very, very. I don't know, man. You know when you feel like you do something that very powerful, and it breaks a lot of misfortunes and a lot of it kind of rectifies. I think that's the word, rectifies a lot of things, past life things, ancestral things, knots. It rectifies it all. It kind of loosens them. That's exactly how that felt. Like this is the right thing. Like it almost felt like this is rectifying something that happened in the past. That that led to me in this life losing my path, kind of led to not losing my path, but led to a lot of misfortune down the line. And this was a rectification.
Right.
Like this is how it was supposed to be. And yeah. And and then I finished reading the Quran entirely. But I'm still reading. I'm doing it again, but backwards. Yeah, so I'm here. I'm doing this. And and then from there I met a lady and part of a Sufi lineage. And I met her, and we've been involved. We're still actively involved. We get together with a couple other people, and we do dhikr, and she kind of introduced me to her lineage and the writings of the lineage and all these things, and the prayers. And so I've just kind of keep growing. So yeah, I'm definitely going down a more Sufi, mystical path, but I'm very adamant in following the pillars of Islam. The daily prayers and zakat, and yeah. Obviously, I don't know if I'll ever do Hajj with the way the world is going, but yeah. So that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Wild. That's a massive journey arc.
Yeah. Yeah. And so through all this time, God, I don't know. I see all these things like, how have you been living? But really, I mean, no one has been miscared for. My son is healthy and my home is good. But through all this, when my friend passed away, I had begun the idea began growing for drawing a deck. And that's, so it's all been happening together. I've been drawing a deck, the Saint Cyprian deck, while all this has been going on. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's been wild. It's been good. It's been good.
And you've released that deck now,
yes, this year. Yes, it just came out with Hadium Press. That was another journey in and of itself. Yeah, because I have no formal training in drawing, pen and ink work, or any kind of, formal training. It's always been something that I kind of did on the side. I don't have any formal training. And then when I decided to actually do it, Saint Cyprian was like, hey, you got to do this. And I'm like, what? No. And I remember telling my friend, and she was like, come on, man. I mean, just start doodling and see where it goes. And I'm like, no, man. And she's like, look at my drawings. And I remember she showed me, like, she's like, I'm doing a magical book and doing drawings of visions I have. Look at this. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what? No, I can't. I have no talent. I can't do this. Just do it. And so it's like another thing, that became undeniable. It was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. So yeah, from there I took a couple courses on figure drawing, and I began in earnest. Like I would draw for hours a day to practice and practice and practice. And I did the deck in pen and ink, in old school like ink and steel nib pen. So yeah. Wow. So that was a journey, and I had the card that really just gave me the most trouble. I mean, the most trouble is the curdled seas card, the tempestuous waves. Man, I did that card, I'm telling you, like 50 times. I couldn't get it right. I would cry at night because I couldn't get it right. I wanted the sea to look like bubbling seas and stormy skies, and I just didn't know how to render that. And yeah, so yeah. And the house card, how kind of house do you draw, that feels good and welcoming and yeah, it was a ride.
So do you work with people at all now? I mean, what sort of work are you doing? And how can people find you? Because we're probably getting close to
Oh
the end
yeah,
of the
I didn't
podcast
answer
by
your
now.
question about that weird experience. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, yeah. Well, you've got a lot to share, so I'm just letting you go
Yeah,
for it. It's great.
that came through. I guess I'll
So
share really
tell us about
quickly.
that.
That came, and I think it's so weird. That came from learning of the lineage, the Sufi lineage. I was, I had been reading
Ah,
on it, and
okay.
she gave me several books and materials and writings. She's like, "Oh, take a look at these ilahis and these things." And I was reading the book of Mustafir Effendi, which is like a big the father of the lineage, big sheikh, and and I, so while I was involved in this material, one night I'm in bed, and um I had already I had these really weird notions. I guess it's from experiences of what um of what life is, and how how the world is. I have, and it's not so straightforward. Like, I don't know. Things are more in flux than we dare to admit. And timelines and time cycles and things like that. It's way more um what's the word? I don't know what the word escaped me, but it's way more
Fluid.
enmeshed. And so I was laying in bed. I wasn't sleeping, I was reading. And so I was the last one to fall asleep. And then I was kind of I put the book down, and kind of like in between awake and asleep, kind of starting to fall asleep. And I'm startled because I hear like and I'm like, what the fuck is that? So yeah.
A pop
And
sound.
so
Yeah.
I'm startled, and I look in front of me, and there's like this, I don't know, man. There's like this thing, this circle, wormhole, I don't
Swirling.
know what to call it. It's like this doorway open, and this person steps out, and I'm like, oh shit, what is going on right now? Everyone is asleep and I'm awake and they're dressed in white. And I'm like, what is this madness? Am I seeing this? So I pretend I'm asleep. I'm like side-eyeing. What is this? And I notice that they're observing me. And they look around the house, but it's me. It's like taking, I don't know, like evaluating me somehow. And look around, look at the books I'm in, and they don't get close, but it's kind of like taking stock of everything. Okay, this is what's going on here. Okay, so this is the lady kind of messing around or something. I don't know because they don't speak. And it lasts for like a minute or 2 minutes. And then I kind of move and the person is like, okay, well, I'm not going. Now it's, when I move, it's that moment of like, okay, I guess they decide to leave, right? Because I notice them, and then the thing opens up, and then they're gone. And I'm like, what the hell just happened right now? And then the whole room just felt eerie after that. And I was like, how am I supposed to sleep? So I got up.
With random people popping in and out like
Yeah,
that.
you feel like, oh shit, what is this? Like, we're all vulnerable here. How did this come through? And so I walked around the house and I kind of calmed down and I went back to reading to calm down again and went to bed. But yeah, that was that. Yeah,
What did the person look like?
that's what that.
What was their appearance? What was their appearance? What did they look like?
Well, they were dressed in white, tall, and they had kind of like a hat turban thing in the head. And they had like I don't know what it's called. It's like it was a man, and it had a long white dress to the bottom. I don't know what they're called.
Sounds like a traditional
Yeah, I think
dress.
so. I don't know what it's called though, but it's that dress, that has kind of like loose sleeves and it has kind
Yeah.
of like a little mini collar. Um,
Yeah, I've seen that dress. I like because where I work, we have some Muslim tenants, and they wear
it
that
was weird.
sometimes.
And I know they were, I mean,
So
they were all in white.
yeah,
And it was white, and the hat was the little thing on the head was white. And I was just like, what is going on right now? Did I just get evaluated and not pass the test?
I think it's probably just the start of things to come by the sound of it. What you've been through and the amount of experiences you've
I
had.
don't know. I
That's
don't
wild.
know, man. To this day, I don't know. It hasn't happened again, to be honest, but I keep doing the prayers. I'm very, in that sense, I'm very devout, um I'm very, keep doing the things. And yeah, I just keep doing the things I always do, really. I just have the prayers,
Yeah.
and I'm still reading the Quran. I began again. I'm struggling now because I want to learn the language. I want to learn Arabic. But I
Mm,
don't know, before things get rockier in the world. I can't find anyone local to teach me. And I've asked at different masjids, I've asked. It's really hard to
mm.
find someone to teach you. And so I'm considering a couple online options before online option is no longer viable for me. So we'll see. Because I do want to learn how to read the
Mm,
Quran in
mm.
its original. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Huge, huge, huge story arc there of your life, and you've had a lot of very interesting currents that have taken you, and now you're following a new current and bringing all that other
Yeah.
story behind you with you as
Yeah.
well, which is wild. Do you work with people now one on one, or what sort of work do you do outside of this? How can people find you and avail themselves of your services and maybe even
Yeah.
find your cards too?
So, I do still work with people. Recently, I made the decision, um, through a lot of thinking that I have a newsletter that you can find, you can sign up on through my website. It's called Notes from the Table. I decided I wanted to have more direct contact with people, so I closed up the shop in my website, where you can do consultations and schedule or reach out to me. I'm moving more toward, it's still open, but it's not open as in you go through this and you pick which one reading you want. No, I want to talk to people. I want people to reach out and email me, and I want to have, I don't know how to explain it, but I want to have more that contact. Yeah.
Connective dialogue, first of all, just to see what's actually necessary.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I've done, and I have the statement up there, and so typically it's in my newsletters. I say it, if you want a reading, just reach out to me. We can talk about it, and we can talk about what kind of reading. We can talk about what we can do. So that's the route I've been going. So it's more like word of mouth, recommendation, but definitely email me. And so I'm still doing that. And I have a newsletter, which is kind of, I don't know, every month. It's monthly. And I just talk about things, and I share links to things that I've read that I like. I'm like, oh, check this out. So it's very, I don't know. I like it. I don't know. So that's my newsletter. Just like a general monthly musing, writing, catch up kind of thing. And there's the website, which is Natalia, and then the dash Lee, which is my middle name, lee.com. And there you can find, I've been running that website since 2015. There's a lot of things I need to update, especially older posts, but I'm starting to slowly get back into writing because I've been painting and drawing. So I'm trying to find a way to merge those things, what I can do there. I'm thinking maybe a prayer card, or doing kind of like sacred painting work, something like that. I don't know the name for it, but there's a name, kind of like, yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how, I don't know, what parts of it can be accessible and shared and made available, maybe through like prayer cards or little like prints that people can have framed and things like that with like prayers in the back. I don't know, something like that. Still thinking about it. And yeah, so I have the website, I have the newsletter, and then my cards. You can just go to HaitianPress.com, and they're there, the Cyprian's deck of cards. And yeah, brilliant. And that's what I'm doing, other than just living, daily living. Living and experiencing. And reading and doing other things, yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we've come to the end. It's been a very good chat, and I've enjoyed everything you shared. I love all the currents you've been through and your passion for it, and how you actually just are open and honest to stepping into these currents and the changes that they bring you. I think that's really brilliant, and I thank you so much for your time, Natalia.
Thank you. Cool. This was lovely. I feel like I've spoken so much. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. Well, I know you have a lot to say, and it's really good the way you say it too. And I'm certain that a lot of people will get a lot of good stuff out of this. And yeah, well, that's the reason why I do this podcast, is to talk about these things, because otherwise people don't realize that it's okay to be just like us. Oh. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm just going to say goodbye to the listeners. So thank you everyone for listening, and bye for now. I often say it's truly a pleasure to talk to so many experienced people. And once again, I've got to say this is an absolute pleasure. It has been talking with Natalia in this episode, and the amount of information and understanding that she expressed in telling her story was really, really encouraging, I think, for anyone that's a magical practitioner or somebody tuning into their intuition and finding their way in life. So, yeah, if you've enjoyed this show, please share the show to somebody that needs to hear it, or get onto the podcast app you're using right now. Give us a 5-star rating, write us a really nice review, and please, if you have something you'd like to share like this, get in contact with me directly. That's supernormalized at proton.me. Send me an email. Let's chat. I'd really like to hear from you. Until next episode, bye for now.